get it. You did, is it in the executive committee packet,
Just put in,
the job description?
yes.
That's where it is. I mean, I've seen it, but I just think they're slow here, so. Now, that's it. There's some changes.
Hey, Lee and Kathy, Cheryl and I are here. We're still waiting for Penny and Isabel and somebody from Tech Services to come get the camera set up for the Zoom hybrid. So give us a few minutes.
All righty.
So if you go to participants, and then panelists, and then the three dots right there.
Yeah.
And then more. Allow panelists to start. You want to delete yourself on this. I should be able to start video, so the camera will wake up and point at you.
Oh, how very nice.
So
Look at that.
do I need to be here to operate this?
He should be able to control everything from his laptop.
Yeah.
And then this is one of the microphones. That middle giant thing is a microphone, and a little pod at the end of that table is a microphone.
Okay, if this is,
That's my laptop.
That's yours, okay.
I've got it. I'm not signed into this. I've got it's kind of pulled up what I've got.
yes, that's.
All right. So Lee and Kathy, can you hear us?
I can, yes.
Yes, I can hear you.
All right.
Wonderful.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Andrew.
You're welcome.
I think make it less loud. Yes.
This is a great room to meet in, actually. I like it. It's just, when we got here to the courthouse today, the courthouse was locked.
Oh, no.
Tom then called and arranged that. We got up here and this door was locked. So I could get in the council office, but I couldn't get into the conference room, so. But we're,
Better late than never.
so greetings, everyone. I'm going to call the meeting to order. We're a little bit late today, like 8 minutes. But these we can assign to technical difficulties. So this is Monday, April 4th, 2022, and the meeting of the Executive Committee of the Monroe County Solid Waste Management District. And we should still do a technical roll call, I guess. Mr. McGlasson, would you like to call the roll?
Munson,
Yes. Here.
Piedmont Smith,
Here.
Githens.
Yes.
All are present in person.
Thank you. We're just going to jump right in to everything because we have a large agenda. First is Executive Committee meeting minutes of February 28th. And thank you to the people who reviewed the minutes. And I'm going to apologize for not doing anything, but I have not been well.
Sorry. Sorry, not been well, but it was my turn. I know, because you guys have been carrying the load, so I really appreciate that.
So this is my weekend to slack off.
That's fine. No,
It's due to the fall I had. And
oh, I'm so sorry.
yeah, that's what's not going well. So don't ever fall down. Okay.
Again, for me. My fault. Yeah.
So let's have a motion regarding approval and then we'll ask.
I move approval of the executive committee meeting minutes from February 28th, 2022.
Second?
Thank you. And these have been revised and are in the Dropbox.
Mhm.
Yes.
So I have no questions on those. Anybody else? Do we need to have, can we do a voice vote for things?
Mr. Baker, everybody is present in person. Can we do voice votes?
Let me make sure I'm on here. Yes, you sure can.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous approval. Thank you. Now we'll have the Board of Directors meeting minutes. Can we have a motion regarding the March 10th minutes?
February 10th. is the first
Excuse me,
one.
February 10th minutes.
Yes, I move approval of the Board of Director meeting minutes from February 10th.
Second?
Thank you. Any questions or comments after the review?
I had sent one question about, I forget whether it's the February or the March, but what one abbreviation meant.
It was the MARC, the HAZWOP abbreviation,
okay.
and that is hazardous waste operations
Right.
emergency response. It is an OSHA standard and it's a training that we have always done, probably a little overboard for what we do, but it is a training that we've always done for our staff and we're continuing to do it.
Probably would just be good to spell it out in minutes, but that's for the next minutes.
Okay. So this is to forward these to the Board of Directors.
Yes, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
That's what I meant.
I just caught it too. So all in favor of forwarding these to the Board of Directors, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes unanimously. One more on minutes, please. The March 10th, 2022 minutes for the Board of Directors.
Yes, I move that we forward the March 10th minutes of the Board of Directors meeting to the full board for approval.
Second?
Thank you. Questions or comments?
There was one abbreviation that I really would like to have spelled out, just so people
And I
know what it
think,
is.
I
Yeah.
think that's a really good point. So
Do you want me to spell that out in the version that goes to the board?
please.
Okay.
And you got my revisions too, right?
Yes, yeah.
I added one sentence.
So we like to say it just takes a village to get, to get our minutes done.
You said you added,
I added a sentence. I added
yes, okay, yeah, I saw, yeah,
about
okay.
Vic Kelson
Yeah.
saying there's no urgency.
I thought you had added something since the
No, no, no.
revisions had come through already, so.
So all in favor of forwarding these to the board? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's passed also. Now we'll hear from our controller, who is there on the screen. And hello, Miss Martin.
I don't think there was anything that I had in, to report for this particular meeting, so.
The agenda does say NA.
Well,
That's me, NA.
just means there's no page number because there's no
Right.
associated documents. in the
Right,
packet.
I know that. But you're here in case there are questions that come up regarding our finances. Okay,
And we said that when we talked about making this a standing agenda item, that there would be months that there just may not be anything to.
But it's good that Ms. Martin is here for the changes in the claim process.
absolutely. No, she does need, especially for that. I would like to ask Ms. Martin how the biweekly claims processing is going.
It's going pretty well.
Are you happy with it?
Pretty much.
Pretty much? Would you rather be doing it weekly?
No, I think it will, I think bi-weekly is better. I really do. I think it's just, getting that transition and everything. So, but it's good.
So the person who signs the checks and the controller are really the key people in deciding whether we do this weekly or bi-weekly, and I would defer to the controller.
Well, and I think right now, just with the
Mhm.
initial transition, there's obviously a lot more claim. When we process them, there's a lot more claims to do. I mean,
Yeah,
But I also think that when we get, if we move forward with the claims processing procedure changes, and with some of these become pre-approved, can be set up to do electronically, we're really going to cut back on the number of checks.
Absolutely, it's gonna be good.
Yeah, I say one thing, when I went to sign the forms for me to be able to sign checks,
Yes,
they had me listed as the treasurer. And so I had them correct that so that it was the secretary, because we don't have a treasurer on this board, as far as I'm concerned. So,
Right.
so I don't know if they made you come sign the form again, Isabel, because you had signed one of the forms they had me sign also. So I don't know.
I never came in the first place. I did it all electronically.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I did it with a wet signature at the bank, so.
They have
Kathy,
this-
the bank's confirmed that we're all set up on signatures now, right?
Correct. We're good. Yeah, they got everything they needed. I think they were able to make those changes in the officer positions without having anybody re-sign anything. So, but we're good. I did double check with her when I took those back that everything was good.
okay. So thank you. Well, if there's nothing else, we will pick up claims again further down the agenda. Continuing on, we have the MOU with the City of Bloomington Utilities. And Mr. McGlasson, would you like to update us?
I mean, there's really nothing to update. It's on the agenda because it's something that we know, we've just talked about. We're having joint discussions with the CAC with, so it's really on the agenda. Just a chance for anybody to, any new issues, questions that may have arisen, but also to discuss how, for the board meeting and the joint meeting, do we want to deal with this being on the agenda, and where is it going to be, or is it going to be an action item? And what's the plan?
Well, I have a question, and I think this is something that Lee Baker may need to weigh in on.
Good.
So try to be from previous from minutes from the February 10th board meeting, when we were talking about the tire waste, disposal, processing, whatever. It says that according to Indiana Code 13-21-3-14.5, it establishes criteria that has to be followed in order for a waste management district to provide waste services to the community to ensure that we're not using tax subsidized services to compete with the private sector. And I'm wondering if this anaerobic digester that's being discussed, because they're producing compost stuff, that has the capability of competing with people in the private sector. So what does that do to our ability to sign this MOU?
And it also relates to the cities.
Yeah, I would, the statute that you cited is specific to solid waste districts.
Right, but they're asking the
Ah.
solid waste to sign on and pay half of this.
Okay, so that
Okay.
there
Right.
are other
but what we're-
statutes
what we're-
that,
What we're talking about doing now is contributing to a study. Which is different than us contributing to constructing or operating the facility.
The requirements of the statute that Penny, that you refer to require us to solicit information from local businesses that do this kind of work, or that conduct this kind of business, to determine their willingness to assist us with our endeavor if we choose to proceed in that fashion, or not. And that's to not only gauge the financial, the fiscal burden that it would impose on the county, for example, to proceed, but also gauge the interest of private companies in performing the service. Basically, it forces us to see what's out there and to see if we can do it more efficiently and more fiscally in a more fiscally responsible manner than private industry. So far, we've complied with that, but so far, Tom, and you can correct me if I'm a little behind, it doesn't sound like we've had any feedback which allows us to move forward on my own. It's a little bit of a separate matter, and I think, Tom, you kind of alluded to that, than maybe this other service that was just commented on.
Wait, Mr. Baker, are you talking about the waste tire program or about the
Yes.
possible biodigesters?
I'm not familiar with that. I'm talking specifically about the waste tire
Yeah,
program.
And we carried that out.
Yeah, that's done. I'm not concerned about the waste tire
Yeah,
program
I know.
because nobody's doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Penny's question was,
Yeah.
do those, is there the same or similar constraints or laws that the city or the city utilities would be subject to as they pursue this feasibility study?
No, whether the county waste district would be restricted because the
No,
city,
if we're contributing to the funding.
right,
Mhm.
right.
Because we're contributing to this study in anticipation that we may be involved if they decide to go ahead and construct this operation.
And there are private composting companies. And the city of Bloomington Utilities funds themselves through fees on users, whereas the solid waste district funds itself primarily through tax dollars.
Yeah.
So that's why I was asking about that.
I think I misunderstood. I apologize. I'm not familiar enough with it to offer an opinion. I'm happy tomorrow to review it and get back with you all very quickly.
Okay, okay, because it is a matter of a study versus an actual endeavor.
Yeah, I think that's the key.
I think that's the key, but
Probably
I still
okay
think
at
it's,
this point.
I still think it's a good question and
It is a
we're
good
trying to answer before we make a decision.
So I would like to raise the matter that I have this memory of other institutions being required to see if they are competing unfairly with local businesses, providing a function. I'm not talking about the district, I'm talking about like county government or city government. I remember this from Indiana University, and we had to go through several hoops on that. Because just because of the nature of what was being proposed. And it took the lawyers to figure out what was the right thing to do. So you might want to check with city legal.
But the city's not being asked to be put in any money here.
No.
It's City of Bloomington
It's
Utilities.
CBU,
Right.
which is
CBU.
Financially
And
separate.
CBU being fee funded is probably
Is probably
subject to different
Clear.
rules.
Yeah.
different
yeah,
rules
it's
since they're
different.
fee funded.
Yeah, I think
Well,
so.
Okay,
Yeah, I think it's just the county solid waste district that we have to worry about here.
Okay, well, Lee, I think you and I we can research that some and try to come up with an answer on where the district it falls into all that.
right,
Happy to assist.
right.
If you hadn't been so thorough about the waste tire, I wouldn't even have known about this. Okay, so.
Well, thanks for that. Whatever I can do to contribute.
Okay, so we're on hold.
Well, I think, but
this-
I still, I guess, for me, for looking at next week, do we want this on the agenda for the board meeting itself as a discussion item, or even an action item, or do we want it only on the agenda for the joint meeting? And Lee has already offered the opinion that the board can, as long as this meeting's properly noticed and the agenda's posted, you can take action at the joint meeting.
At the joint meeting.
After we hear from the CAC.
Yeah. So I'm in favor of having this after we hear from the CAC. So during the joint meeting,
Joint meeting.
the
So-
agenda of the,
So
put it
just,
on the agenda of the joint meeting.
so it's not on the board agenda, it's only
Right.
on the joint meeting agenda.
Yeah, I don't see
Okay.
any point in putting it on
Right.
the agenda. We're just-
In the email that goes out to board members, you might call their attention to 2 different agendas
Yeah,
and be prepared for them. And I,
scroll down.
Make sure
Don't give up.
Make sure you're looking at the right agenda for the right meeting.
okay, then, we're set for that. Let's move on.
So
Oh, go ahead.
are we gonna talk further about how to approach this? Because rather than a free-for-all, I think it might be good to give some structure to the discussion, like,
On the joint meeting,
yeah.
well, that's,
Joint
we
meeting.
have an agenda item about setting the
About the
agenda for that
agenda.
joint meeting, so we
Mhm.
can.
All right, I'll do that then.
Okay. Okay, now, orange bag, request for bid.
Oh, goodness.
Do we have any more information, Mr. McGlasson?
It really just what you have in the memo. Unfortunately, I mean, they're willing to do a 1-year agreement, but unfortunately, the price does bump up a little bit from what they submitted in the bid. So then again, Mr. Baker, not sure what our abilities or constraints are with regard to receiving the one bid and how much can we negotiate differently than what they actually submitted.
Well, I think you can sure give it a shot. The fact that you've got one bid frees you up a little bit.
But it would be negotiate with the same manufacturer.
Yeah, I mean, in
Yeah.
essence, based on the discussion and the motion the board approved at the last meeting, was directing staff to go back to the bidder, request a 1-year agreement. What does that do to pricing? And so here's your information. They gave us pricing for 1, 2, and then 3-year, which is what they submitted on the bid. I mean, it is what it is. No matter how you slice it, it's a substantial increase. in
Yeah.
price.
And I thought that they had said, and maybe I'm not remembering correctly, but I thought they said this would be the price for the first year and that they couldn't guarantee that it would stay that way the
Right.
second and third year.
Right.
Right, and then for the 2- and 3-year agreements, they said that same escalator clause.
Yeah.
They would want
So
that
not-
in there.
Not only did they already increase it as a baseline.
Mhm.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's really,
Second or third year. Okay, so the price does go down for a 3-year, but
But only
The
for the first
asterisk.
year. We don't know what it'll be in the second and third years.
right, but they're starting the
Well-
base price at 0.3625 instead of 0.375.
You're going to get a more favorable rate with a longer term contract.
Yeah.
But
Right.
you'll pay a premium for a shorter term.
But as we discussed when we reviewed the bid initially, that escalator clause
Yeah.
is
It's a 3%, right?
on top of the
Plus
CPI.
CPI.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I mean, we said that could be anywhere from 7, 8 to 10+%
Yeah,
any given year, depending on the
especially
CPI.
these days,
I
inflation.
just hate hitting
And without knowing. what-
residents who need orange bags with higher cost at the
Now,
grocery
And-
store.
more
Yeah,
dumping.
and unfortunately, those plastic resins are a petroleum product. So without knowing what's going to happen over in Europe and the impact that's going to have on oil prices,
Right.
we don't have any idea where that's going to go.
Now, you said that there are other special purchasing methods, so we could actually go and seek quotes. And I love you said here, it would allow us to sole source, SOUL source.
I really do like soul.
Down.
Well, I was
Sole source.
listening to the 70s channel.
Soul sort.
Like that.
Oh, funny.
So is there an option to go see who else is out there? If we
Well,
approach them rather than,
Well, but we did that with the bid. We had
Yeah.
3 other vendors identified that I emailed
Oh.
directly to those reps. Here's the request for bid.
okay, so you
And-
already
And
targeted.
they
And
didn't.
nobody even came back with a question.
Wow.
Which I can understand, once they see the bid and some of the criteria or, qualifications that we have in there that they don't want, maybe they can't meet the strength specs or who knows, but
Mhm.
but to not even come back and ask or, say, hey, sorry, we can't do this or we can't do that, I was really disappointed.
They
They're
make-
probably understaffed.
And
Exactly, just like everybody else. They don't want any new business because they can't. handle
So, but those options are there, and then Lee can correct me if I'm wrong in any of this, but there's, if this process drags out so long and we get to the point that I have to order bags today or we're going to run out, we can make that happen. There's emergency
do that.
clauses in the statute, and think if we get to that point. But I think it's important if we do wind up at that point to demonstrate that we made attempts to follow the procedures in the statute before we resorted to this.
I think you need to weigh, and it seems to me, you need to weigh the likelihood that Tom will be able to procure a satisfactory product or a trash bag out on the market against what you have that what you currently have and know about. So there is some risk in going out on the market of the unknown. And maybe ending up in a worse situation than what you have in front of you, which isn't optimal. And what we know in the short run is that costs are going to increase, especially in the fuel market.
Yeah, what I fear is that a year from now, if we go with just a 1-year agreement, that will be back in the exact same situation. We'll only have one vendor and that
Yeah.
they will hugely increase the price rather than more than just the CPI plus 3%.
I think that is a valid concern.
I think it's pretty chancy when Tom didn't get any response from other vendors.
Well, but also this says, according to the CPI includes some petroleum, but it's not going to be as high as the petroleum may spike.
Right.
So that kind of
It will
gives some protection.
It'll impact the CPI, but it's not going to drive the CPI.
Right. So petroleum prices could double, but the CPI may go up 7%. So, yeah.
In the last board meeting, I think the mayor asked how much it actually costs us to process a small and a large bag.
Yeah, and I don't have that calculated yet, but I will have that at the board meeting.
Okay,
Because we wanted to see if this would cause us to have to increase the
And
cost.
it's gonna be a rough number, because we our disposal cost is based on weight. Well, some bags are full of styrofoam and some are full of kitty litter.
Used kitty litter, sorry.
Even heavier.
So, so it's still a ballpark on putting that, but we
Yeah,
can sit there and say, we sold, X thousand bags, we did X tons of disposal, this was the cost, so per bag, it breaks down to roughly $5 or
Yeah,
whatever it
it's
is.
an average.
Yeah.
But that would be good to know.
so would you remind us what is the cost paid at the grocery store for the bags?
That the grocery store pays us, or the customer pays the grocery store?
The customer pays the grocery store and the grocery store pays us, so we need to know both of those.
So the 33-gallon bags retail for $15 for a roll of 10, so $1.50 a bag.
Okay,
I think the grocery stores pay us $13 for those rolls, $12.50 or $13 for those rolls.
okay, would you have that?
I'll have,
info?
yeah,
I think it's $13.50 you told us, but
I forget the exact,
Yeah,
it's a percent discount
Yeah.
that they get.
Okay,
And then for the small bags, it's $12.50, 15-gallon bags, $12.50 for a roll of 20,
Mhm.
and it's the same percent discount to the vendors.
So yeah, if you would just put that in the memo and along with compare that to the cost per bag that we might be paying. We can see if we're gonna have to likely raise the price that we're charging the stores, which means they raise the price they're charging the customer.
I'm sure they will, yeah.
yeah, if it's $13.50, they're taking a 10%. Yeah.
So then for
Be $11.25. then for the-
16, for 62.5 cents a bag, they would be taking.
I apologize, I don't remember off the top of my head how much what percent that discount is.
Well, I'm leaning toward security rather than chancing it.
Me too.
And we can always, look at trying to, write an out clause into the agreement. A 90-day written notice to opt out or something like that, and see if they'll agree to that.
But then they would have a 90-day out clause.
Well, they would too. And then wrighther time period we put in there, we got that much time to find a vendor.
No,
Yeah.
let's not do that. They will wriggle out of it. I mean, Republic's already
I
trying to
will-
wriggle out of them.
And I will say that this, this company, we've been with them for 10 years or so. And I think we talked at the last board meeting a year or two ago, they had some production issues and we got a bad run of bags and we had to replace a lot of bags.
Did they make it right?
Yeah. But they've been good to work with. And I think that if something went upside down that impacted their material costs or something, up or down, I think that if it was that out of whack, they would be willing to sit down and maybe renegotiate things if their manufacturing costs suddenly went way up or way down.
I think if they went way up, they'd be willing to negotiate. You may never know about it if they went
Well,
way down.
Well, no, the resin that they use it's a marketed commodity, and you can just like you can
Ah.
look up stocks, and
Oh, just like
we can look that
like
up.
a gallon
You
of
can buy-
oil.
You can buy futures in it. too.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean that's what they're paying, but it gives you a rough idea that it went up 10%, down 10%, or whatever.
Mhm.
Maybe that should impact our price too.
So are we ready to move on to other matters? And we're going to ask for a vote on this at the board meeting,
Yes.
so we can get a decision and move forward. Okay, good. So changes to claims, processing procedures. Tom, would you like to start with this? We've got a couple different things to cover here.
Well, yeah, and this comes back, discussion that we've had for the past 2 or 3 meetings. It's a combination of, did we want to give staff the authority to sign checks? And if so, with any constraints in that, did we want to look at setting up vendors to be paid electronically? Did we want to have routine recurring payments like utilities and contracts and stuff pre-authorized so that Kathy and I can just get those paid and not have to worry about bringing them to a board meeting or emailing stuff out to the board? So what you have here are 2 resolutions. One that I think the 2202 basically outlines the types of claims that the board is going to say, these are regular recurring payments that we all know about, we're obligated to, and they can be paid without board approval, prior approval of the board. And then the second one makes modification to the internal control policies to account for that, as well as account for staff having the authority to sign checks. And there's a couple of, I think we talked before, the limit on staff signing checks in there right now was $50,000. I had put that in just kind of as a placeholder. That is a number that's kind of up for debate, or whatever the wishes of the board of the executive committee is.
Okay.
But what you also have in the packet, starting on page 37, we just kind of randomly selected some of our vendors that we either have monthly, quarterly, semi-annual, annual payments with, and what those are to give you an idea of the types of claims and vendors that we're talking about getting set up electronically or having prior board approval, and the amounts of the checks that we're cutting, that why we need to look at a 30,000 plus.
Right.
We were at $30,000 now on a couple of these monthly payments, and
Yeah, there's some. that
So
are
there's
higher.
one, the insurance policy gets way over that.
Yeah. So,
and so there, so that's, that number doesn't, that was just one that I threw in looking at, we're already in $30,000+ regularly. how often do we want to come back and readdress this? Because prices are only going to go up in the coming years. So, and we don't really have anything currently recurring that we pay that's in between that $30,000 to $50,000 mark.
The resolution refers to 4 categories of payments.
Yeah.
Are
Yes.
these 4 categories represented? Well, obviously not the payroll and benefits, but are the utility services and contractual obligations all represented by the examples above? Starting on page 37. You said these were random examples.
Yeah, we did. I wasn't going to put them all in there. Emails may have started rejecting the PDF file if we got that big, but.
Yeah.
But you can see in red on there, we've kind of tried to describe what it is that these are and if they're related to a service agreement or a contract.
Mhm.
Like the Ernie Borrow, that's, we pay at the beginning of every year, we pay him, that's the lease, he owns the site, the land at the Bethel Lane site.
Mhm.
We pay him that, once a year, every year, but it's known. I don't think I put any of the utilities in here. I thought those were fairly self-explanatory.
So basically, everything on the list would fall under number 2.
Okay.
Okay.
So I have some thoughts on this. I imagine you all do. Do you want to go with your thoughts first?
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll jump in then. I think it would be good business for the board of directors to know specifically who the payees are that are approved by the board. And so to have a list of these that is presented, and maybe it is done annually, because there might be additions to the list, and there might be contractual obligations or utilities that come off the list too. And I think in terms of our fiscal responsibility, it would be good to have an annual review of the amounts by these different vendors, let's just call them vendors, by these different vendors year after year, so that we know how much is being spent and what we are paying for.
Are you suggesting that for all vendors or just the vendors identified in the resolution?
Vendors in the resolution, because we are really giving our staff responsibility for doing this, and we've taken ourselves out of the knowledge
Mhm.
base. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't you think some of that will come through too when we do budget planning, so that we see
It
what
will.
is?
Yeah,
Well-
it will help in budget planning if we do an
And
annual
we'll,
review.
and we'll still, as in the next resolution, when we look at the internal controls policy, we'll still provide those same monthly reports. Even though the claim wasn't presented to the board for approval before the check was cut. We'll still, this month, here's all the utilities that were paid that
Oh,
you guys didn't
Okay,
approve in
okay, so
advance.
so we will see that.
Yes,
But I think it would be helpful to see an annual compilation from those of the monthly reports. What do you think?
Like I said, I think we see a lot of that anyway when we start to do annual budgets, but
yeah, if we're still gonna see them monthly, I don't really see a need for the annual.
yeah, we still planned on providing it, it'll look slightly different because now we'll still have, not nearly as long, we'll still have a pre-approved claim,
Mhm.
claims for approval today. And then there'll be another report that'll say pre-approved claims paid in the month of March, or whatever month it was.
Okay,
And those will be itemized. They'll have all the information on there just like the others do.
okay, so they will be so we will see everything.
Yes.
Okay. So that needs to be described at our meeting.
Yeah, like I said, that's something that's covered in a change that was made in the internal controls.
Okay.
I do like your idea, Cheryl, about adding to this resolution, like in each category, here are the vendors. That's what you meant?
Yes,
Like here are the utilities vendors, here are the contract
Yes.
vendors.
and so it's very clear to the public
Yeah,
and to all of us who give the staff the authority to carry this out.
right. And so we could review any change in vendors. I mean, we have the approved vendor list anyway, but
Yeah,
it'd be good to also highlight if there's ever a change in. one of
Yeah,
these
now, one of
categories.
I think originally, when Kathy and I first started talking about this, that our plan, was to come up with a list, ABC company, XYZ company, but I talked with some other districts that already have this in place, and the argument that was made to categorize them, was you change we new bag supplier, new hauler. Who was it? Veteran recently changed their name to Center Point. I mean, anytime any of those things happen,
Yeah.
then we have to redo the resolution.
Maybe just revisit it annually then, or something.
And I think that was something, and maybe I didn't put that in the rec. I think that was something that was discussed at the last executive committee meeting or board meeting, was putting a sunset date in there. Which can be added, that this is, the board will renew this resolution every, and I think we were looking at like February after the new officers were elected.
yes, because January is not a good meeting. We did talk about that.
Yeah,
So companies changing their name is is a pain, but how should,
But
I
can't
would
you
like
just,
to know the list currently.
yeah,
Like, I just want to know.
Well, and
How many are we talking about?
we can certainly put a list together for you and just kind of have it separate and not a part of the resolution, but just here's your resolution, by the way, here's the vendors it impacts.
And then we could review that
Here's the current vendors that it
Oh.
impacts.
okay,
sunset.
I mean, we can put that list. My concern was to identifying them in the resolution, and anytime something changed, we got
Yeah.
to redo the resolution.
well, if we have changes during the year, then we can get an updated meeting.
Right, and that's not gonna eliminate it altogether.
Right.
Sometimes things will happen and we have to make a change to something.
Yeah.
But,
I think that's a good idea, to not put it in the resolution per se, but to have it available.
we don't want to check blocked because
Yeah,
they changed the name,
right.
because that's what it would do if it were in the resolution.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So, other thoughts on this?
So what about the sunset clause?
We thought to the first board meeting in February.
So we need to add that to the resolution.
Yeah, that
Yes.
would just be a second. Lee, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the way to do that is just to add a second now therefore that will, in essence, say the board will review this resolution annually at the February board meeting or something to that effect.
Okay,
Yes, I think that'll work.
so, but if we just review it, does that mean we just look at it, or do we reauthorize it?
No.
So.
Well,
we need-
that would depend on, we can write it up however you want it to be.
Well, you could also write it in that reauthorization would be required on a different time frame, like every 3 years or something like that. They don't have to go hand in hand either.
Mhm, mhm. Mhm.
I mean, because instead of review, it could say reauthorize.
Lee, do you have any
Yeah,
recommendations
I
on
was
that?
just about to ask.
Well,
Mr.
Wake up, come on.
Mr. Baker.
No, I think it's all a good discussion. Of course, it needs to be review, and then the question is whether there should be some additional language authorizing you to take action following review. Which I think would be perfect. I think that would be fine. We just need to come up with language, which isn't that difficult. And then when that time comes, you go through review and you decide you don't want to take action, that's perfectly fine. But you've at least put in place a procedural scenario where you can take action if you wish. But anyway, I'll leave it there. I think we can come up with language though that works. That gives you leeway to take action or not.
Okay, I guess I'm thinking of this reauthorization being something comparable to the salary ordinances that we review and every year and approve with a resolution.
I mean, the salaries tend to change every year, but.
Yeah, the
but you're right,
salaries
But it's the same,
It's sort of,
it's just something that we know at this meeting every year, we're gonna present this to them.
It's an eventuality. It's going to happen every year. With review, there's going to be action taken.
But you're right, just like we do with the holiday schedule, with salary ordinance. It's just we
I
know that
I
every
think
November.
regularizing it with a review and an action is the best thing to do, because we're already used to doing it.
I agree, because I mean, if we just say we're gonna review it, it could fall by the wayside pretty easily. I mean, we also, until recently, we didn't review our investments regularly either.
Exactly.
So I think it's good to actually make it an action
Yeah,
item.
okay.
It could be stated as a reauthorization.
Yeah.
And I think all you have to say is, instead of what I said earlier, instead of review, just say reauthorize. I think by definition, if you're reauthorizing it, you have to review it.
Yes, that's right.
Right.
Yeah, that does force something to be done and that's active as opposed to.
So it will be
Yeah.
resolution 2023-02 or whatever. Okay. Well, we should now look at the next resolution because it's linked.
Is this really only the second resolution of the year?
Second, and third.
What happened to our salary ordinance and our meeting schedule?
Meeting schedule we did last year, didn't we?
Did we do it in
Well,
December?
ordinances are ordinances.
But we didn't do them by resolution.
Oh, we just did them by ordinance.
We
Okay.
just, the board just gets up there and agrees on a date, there's a vote, there's a motion, and okay.
See
The
that,
Thursday of the month, there we
Right.
go.
so, yeah.
So
I'm
we have
thinking-
voted on more things. They just
Yeah.
weren't resolutions.
Right.
Yeah,
It just
exactly.
worked.
I'm just used to everything being a
Or
resolution.
maybe we're gaslighting you all. Who knows?
I'm used to everything being a
Start with
resolution.
that.
Okay, so let's hear the important parts of this resolution.
Internal controls.
Yeah. So what are the key things here?
I marked
Well,
it up in box.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, I better up
yeah,
into that.
the detail is
Couldn't help
in,
myself.
is in the document, is in the internal controls document, not in the resolution.
Okay. Let me go find-
Yeah, the one that says draft.
It starts on page 47 in our stuff, but you changed it a lot.
She did, so.
Yeah,
okay,
Isabel's,
I have to go to Dropbox here. We all do.
Isabel doesn't like my punctuation and the
No.
way I spell soul, so she has to.
Soul was just hilarious.
Can't help myself. Yeah, I don't think there was anything major. There might have been.
There was one that caught mine. I'm trying.
On mine, it's green. Mine is green.
So,
Oh, yeah, I did add something under
is it the second?
receipt of checks.
Is it the 11:27 a.m.? Because it
Yes.
both have the same name.
Sorry.
Oh, once it's clean.
It's the one that says draft.
Yeah, the
Okay.
one that says draft.
I don't know why it says modified 4-1, because I did it yesterday.
Because I was in there today, probably, or, well, no,
4-1 was Friday.
that was Friday.
So I see red.
Well, that's the day that I uploaded it. Friday was the day I
Cheryl is
put it
also
in
reviewing
Dropbox.
this right now.
And yes. Mine says Penny is viewing this too. No. We're being tracked. And I've got Kathy and Tom that finally I got Isabel here.
The bi-weekly claims
Okay.
reports.
I just
for
had to
all-
reload and now I see it's revised.
Number 15 on page.
Yes, and that, yes, that
6.
should be bi-weekly.
On page 15,
Page 6, item number 15.
oh, item 15,
Yeah.
excuse me.
On page 6 of the controls.
Mhm.
Shouldn't accounts payable right above that, shouldn't that just not have a apostrophe? The account doesn't own the payable.
I'm sorry, where are you?
On number 13, right above that, where it says accounts payable, there should be an apostrophe there, should there? Correct. Okay,
Accounts should not be
yeah, I took it out.
apostrophied. Apostrophied. You could, or if
And
we,
why did I not see your correction? That's so weird.
You were concentrating on the bi-weekly.
No, I mean, I, like right now, you corrected it right now, didn't you?
Yeah, that's not.
I don't know, it doesn't update it.
You'd have to close it and reopen the document.
Oh,
Okay.
weird.
Okay.
Okay, it's not like a Google Doc where you see it.
Yeah.
No. I much prefer Word docs at doing this than Google Docs. I find they're hard to work with.
So, yeah, so that question on number 15, it should be bi-weekly.
It is, yes, should be bi-weekly. And then you had another question under the payroll section on bottom of page 8 about holidays and a request for leave.
Yes.
And yeah, you're right. We don't.
So that just needs to be rephrased then.
Yeah. I mean, they are, see, holidays, I mean, everything but holidays would be something somebody requested off to have paid leave for. They're sick, they want a vacation,
Mhm.
and those are reflected on those time off request sheets.
Well, we'll
Or-
just put in parentheses.
Yeah, but it's all reflected on the time sheet. And even, Monday was a holiday, we didn't work, but they still write holiday 8 hours,
Okay.
10 hours,
10
whatever
hours,
their
yeah.
schedule is. If they'd let me get away with paying them for 8, I would. I'm not, there was one other one.
And that's
Isabel, and I'm
on
not
page 8,
seeing
but
it
what
now.
number is it?
It just under
It's
payroll.
just under the first paragraph under payroll.
Oh, okay, got it.
Oops, I just made the correction, but I'm in editing mode, so it'll just show up changed. I hope that's okay. It's adjusting mode. So did you see the other things that I revised? They were, because I tried to clarify a few other things, and I hope I didn't change the meaning.
I don't think that you did.
All checks received shall be logged in separately. It's on the top of page 4.
There was one about endorsing for deposit only that I thought, and it
I
looked-
was just moving it from one place.
you
to
just
another.
moved it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
And then it looks
I
like it's
thought-
brand new.
I thought you had added it, and I was like, I swear that's already in there.
Yeah, no, if you move
I
it,
moved it.
it looks like it.
Okay.
An
but,
addition.
That was the other one I caught that caught me. I was like, well, why did she add that? It's already there.
It made more sense to me to have that up front and then
Right,
First you talk about the checks, then you talk about the copies of checks,
right.
right?
But then, and then most, everything else looked like grammar, spelling, forgot a word.
Mhm. Commas.
Timesheet is one word.
It is.
Yeah.
She's had to oversee that at IU for 20 years. So.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know about timesheets.
Isabel's seen more than a couple times she.
You'd never guess my mom was a teacher as bad as I am at this.
Depends on what she taught.
Yeah. She's a
I
chemistry teacher.
was thinking art.
Yeah, but I think this sounds good. I mean, this is,
Mhm.
what are the major changes? Can you repeat that for us?
Major changes. I mean, well, I guess on page 1, there's the second paragraph is only a sentence, but the second paragraph is new, which just basically acknowledges in here in writing that we recognize that the statute grants the controller certain authorities. That, I mean, that's all, and it just references the statute.
Mhm.
And then, let's see.
You added how invoices will be provided.
Yeah, and that's some, and some of that is basically adding electronic ways to provide them, just as kind of going along with, we're gonna do electronic payments, then why can't we do electronic invoicing?
All right.
Then a lot of it really trying to,
So is the under lock and key something new?
no,
It's not new. It's just reworded. Oh, it's reworded into being a positive statement rather than a negative, a prohibition.
Under lock and key instead of locked in the drawer. Looks like.
yeah,
It says at no time shall any cash or checks. It changed to all cash and checks shall be.
and there's a few different places that we might secure money in the office, depending on how long do we plan on it being there. I mean, if it's just, you know, cash came in, Kathy's at lunch, she's gonna get it in a half hour when she returns, it'll probably get locked in a desk drawer. If it's gonna sit somewhere overnight, it's safe that it goes in. So it's easier just to say under lock and key. It will be secured, but depending on the circumstances where may change.
Well, I like changing it to a positive rather than a prohibition anyway.
I think, you know, the bulk of it is under, starting on page 5, under the accounts payable claims.
ACH.
And in the beginning of that is where we make reference to the resolution
Yeah.
regarding the pre-approval. We make reference to doing automated payments when appropriate and available. And then on page 6 is where you get into the process changes. It has to do with having things that can be pre-authorized, things that are paid electronically, how information is going to be reported to the board. And I mean, that extends on. But I want to make sure.
Okay, and here we have the $50,000, number 12.
Yeah,
So yeah, we should talk about that maybe. Or is everybody happy with that? I mean, going back to the list of examples in our packet, seems like maybe 40,000 could be used.
So there was one that was 45.
Yeah.
A single one?
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
that's one of the, that's the, It's probably the landfill pollution policy,
Yeah.
pollution prevention policy,
Is that
which is every 3 years.
So
So
that would
that's
not
not
be a
okay.
big
It's
deal
not
to
gonna
sign.
change for, it won't even be there for a couple of years.
Right.
I mean, so it wouldn't be a big deal for somebody to sign it, or the board president to sign it. I don't know, I just tend to be cautious about the amounts.
Again, like I said, that was just, I knew 30,000 wasn't gonna be enough, and I just threw in, 50, but I can't cite you a specific claim or vendor or instance where, because of this, it has to be $50,000.
Mhm.
If you're more comfortable with 40 or 45, that's fine. And that, in all likelihood, all that means is that we have to bring this back and readdress it earlier than we might otherwise, but we're still talking years down the road because it's just going to be inflation, and how long does it take costs to get up that high? But then I also wanted, on page 7,
There's a 45,000. That's the insurance policy.
That's the one, but again, that's the every 3 years, so.
Yeah. And that could be a simple check.
So
That's-
well, but that's also going to be something. Kathy, when we did all the insurance payments at the end of the year, one check. Do we send multiple checks to Highland, or do we do one check that covers all of the various premiums?
Oh, that was the first time I did those, but I thought we did separate checks for those. I'm pretty
Okay.
sure we did.
Well, I'll
Yeah.
tell you right away, one of the orange bag checks was 38,000, so I don't feel comfortable making it 40.
Yeah, I
Well-
think there were a couple things that were pushing the $40,000, which is why we thought that might be something that we could
Well-
easily
but
go over.
the prices are going up on the orange bag.
I
No.
can tell you, because I can tell you right now that,
Yeah.
we're looking at the orange, the orange bags are done twice a year. So, but if you're at $106,000 for the year, it's gonna be 53 and 53.
But again, that's only 2 checks.
That's just 2 checks.
Yeah,
It's fine.
It is,
Yeah.
And the other potential there is, depending on, who the vendor is, it is something that's under an agreement and could potentially be set up to do electronically and would be pre-approved under the previous resolution. And there's no check to sign. It just happens.
well, they could also probably bill quarterly. And then it gets away from that too.
I have to ask them about that. We could look at that.
I'm just saying that there are a lot of ways to,
Yeah,
Well, because I think they bill by batch, that's ordered and.
what they will do, we actually tell them how many bags we want for the year, and they run them. If we want 200,000, we
They'll do
produce them, and then they only send us half of it, and we only pay for half of it. And then when we tell them, 5, 6, 7 months down the road, okay, we're ready for the other half, they send us the other half, and we pay for the other half. And that's one of the other nice things about that vendor is that they have the ability and are willing to store half of the order for us for 6 months.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Probably
Which
could
is-
store a whole year's
Yeah.
worth.
That would cost us.
Yeah.
Store that.
But then I also wanted to point out to you on page 7 in the marked up copy, the new section on the ACH payments, that last line is where it says that at every board meeting, we'll provide the board report detailing all the ACH payments for the month.
page 7.
We get that.
Of the, page 7 of the draft, the marked up draft internal controls.
Page
I
7.
think it's page 6, isn't it?
Is it 6?
Okay, thank you.
I'm on 6.
It's on
I'm
page
on
7
7.
on mine.
Yeah.
Okay,
7 on mine.
what number is it under?
It's not under a number.
It's after number 18.
It's a completely
Okay,
new
I
input
see.
section.
Oh,
Yeah, automated
Okay, okay,
clearinghouse
There.
payments.
Let's see. I expected it to be bolded or underlined or something, I guess, so, yeah.
That
Like the
last
other
sentence there, that's where you'll get at every board meeting,
Yeah.
the board will get a report of all the ACH payments that were made.
Mhm. Okay,
Okay, so resolution 2202 is tied to the ACH payments?
does it say ACH payments in 20,
So I was just
In
wondering.
resolution 2?
It doesn't.
Authorized to make payments without prior board approval for these 4 categories, but it doesn't say ACH.
I think that first paragraph in there may have been an early revision, and when we were looking at, like, Kathy and I were gonna itemize the list,
Mhm.
and because I know initially, when Kathy and I first started reviewing all of this and what's it gonna take to happen, we were looking at 3 or 4 resolutions. And now we got down to 2.
2, which is
consulting
good.
with Mr. Baker. So that resolution reference may have been put in early, and now we've since changed the way that, the number of resolutions and how things are gonna be addressed. So I can,
But shouldn't resolution 2 use the wording automated clearinghouse payments?
Does it need to?
I don't think that it needs to, because we've done it by adopting the internal controls,
Mhm.
because that's one of the changes that we've made in here is, recognizing benefits of doing electronic or ACH payments. And basically saying that when the vendor is capable of doing that and we deem it's appropriate, we'll set that up.
Okay.
And I think originally we were thinking we may have to have a separate resolution specific to authorizing electronic payments, but as long as the vendor's approved and
The
whether
internal controls.
we either have them pre-approved on the one resolution or it goes on the bi-weekly docket to the board, and just instead of a check, this one's an electronic payment
Mhm.
because they're not on the vendor list or they're not a utility or whatever.
So you'll revise this paragraph in the internal control.
So yeah, I'll revise that. We'll take out the resolution reference because that resolution does not exist. And just have a statement there about recognizing the benefits of electronic payment and
Okay. And we're not gonna use automated clearinghouse payments in this?
no, we will.
We will.
We still have to have the reference to ACH and electronic payments in here. And then once the controls are adopted,
Mhm.
then we have the internal control policy that allows for
All right.
the controller to go to vendor XYZ and say, hey, can you guys do electronic payments? We'd love to set that up.
Yeah. So to me, I think this should be resolution number 2. And the one that provides the specifics should be resolution number 3. What do you think?
Have the internal controls approved first.
Yeah,
Well, except that
they need to be discussed together because nobody's
Right,
gonna understand
but
it.
there is something in here that references the pre-approval resolution. So if that's not adopted before you adopt the internal controls,
Oh, where,
that's.
can we search for resolution?
Well, and I found a typo.
Oh, my God, no.
I missed one.
You did. So under number 11, under accounts payable claims on page 6, says for claims pre-authorized via resolution 2022-20, which should be 02.
And it should be 02, got it. That's a biggie.
But that's where we make reference to, we have some vendors' claims that are pre-approved by the board and we can just process them. So in order to adopt internal controls with that in there, I thought we had to have that resolution adopted already.
Makes sense. So is anybody willing to go lower than $50,000 for the signature? Or are you both wanting to stick with $50,000.
I think 50 is like a round number.
So it's 40, Cheryl. You would
You can count my kids.
$47,299.
I don't have any strong feelings about it.
It is-
If you guys prefer 40, that's fine by me.
I'm actually fine with the 50, but
I'm fine with the 50 too. So,
I mean, it's also, I mean, there's 4 of the board members that can weigh in on that as
Yeah.
well. And it can be, the resolution, you can modify it, make a motion to amend
mhm,
the resolution and change that number
Right.
before it's adopted, if the board so
Yeah.
chooses. The only thing, that all that it really does is the lower you make that number, the more checks that Cheryl or whoever is going to have to come to the office and sign on.
Right,
Bi-weekly
it's
basis.
the signature of checks, it's not the approval of the claim.
Right.
right, it's the
So that
signature
will
of the
still
check.
go to the board
Right.
unless it's one of the routine.
Unless
ones.
it's one of the, right.
Mhm.
All right, I think I can live with that.
So stay with 50 then. So, and
Part of the idea is to reduce the number of times that one of you has to physically come to the office or go
Exactly.
meet somebody
Right.
somewhere and get a check signed.
Right, right.
And I think if we do this, we're going to have lots and lots of weeks that the board doesn't have to get involved in check signing.
so I'm back to the automated clearinghouse payments title. I'm thinking about future board members. And they're learning the whole process of how the district works and how things link together. That's why I think that phrase should be somewhere in Resolution 02. So persuade me that I'm wrong.
Wow. I guess I don't see the difference if a new board member joins the board. Are they going to go back and read old resolutions, or are they more likely to read the internal controls policy?
They'll read
Wow.
internal controls,
Yeah,
and then they'll know that there is this other list
mhm.
that is approved by Resolution 02.
Yeah,
on the current now therefore that's in there.
Uh-huh.
It says, now therefore, the district board of directors hereby resolves and adopts that the district controller is authorized to make payments. And you could say including ACH payments if you want.
Yes,
Okay,
I think that would be great.
that way,
That's
I mean,
fine.
it's just adding a
Yeah.
couple words
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we just want to, controllers authorized to make payments, including ACH payments.
Mhm.
Spell out ACH. Automated clearinghouse.
Easy enough.
Yeah,
Okay.
does that satisfy you?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was a good suggestion. So. Actually, I think it's very heartening that this internal controls policy, which took a long time to develop anyway, has stood the test of time, and we're massaging it for the changes that we're making, and we're correcting a few things that needed correcting, but I think it was a good one.
were you on the board when it was first developed?
I've been on the board for a very long time, and I'm wondering how I get off.
You told me you still have things that you wanted to accomplish. Now,
I
come on.
did. I did.
Years old.
Huh?
The internal controls are only like 5 years old.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It was-
2016.
Yeah,
They were-
the Board of Accounts made
they-
a change and we had to do it.
right. They arrived and said, you will have this. And the county did it and the city did it.
Yeah, I remember this. Did it too.
Okay.
Good.
So do we need a motion on this at all?
No, I think
Take it
just
to
as
the
long
board?
as there's a consensus expressed to
Okay.
move them to the board.
I think we have a good consensus. Let's see if I can get back to the page. I'm going back to the agenda real quick.
So on your
I
book,
miss having two screens with me. I think I
Yes.
need some sort of portable second screen.
you can buy those things that you can stick out to the side and stuff. I've seen. them
Really?
advertised.
I
Yeah.
haven't seen that. I've never.
Yeah.
I mean, we have, at work, we have just portable screen, just plug in with a USB.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, that's how mine is at home, but something that's easy to carry and fits in the laptop bag is
There
what
you
I'm
go.
talking about.
I was told I could, because I have a Mac, I can make my iPad into a second screen.
Oh,
Oh, what a good idea.
Because you can
I'm not a
broadcast
Mac
or whatever.
person.
I don't have an iPad. else I would do that.
That is great. Okay.
What if we could do it with our iPhones?
I don't have an iPhone either.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Well, we have a bunch of other items to get through. Next, leachate hauling professional services agreement.
So on the bookmarks that you have in here, you misspelled leachate just because I'm in Isabel mode here.
Kenny, this is an internal document. That doesn't matter. No, I'm just kidding.
This was, I was
This was
scrambling
big.
on Friday. I had to get out early. I had to
Soul of
chaperone the
Leachate.
bachelor band trip to Greenfield.
Oh,
no, I'm
my
sorry.
fault. Yeah,
I
my
bet.
condolences, yeah.
Oh,
Of course, this begged the question, what was the past cost?
That dawned on me after,
It's like, okay, this is the new one. How
yeah.
much of a increase is this?
Yeah, what?
Yeah.
How we take it.
because it's, yeah, why don't you just add that to your memo?
I can tell you right now.
Yes, that would be great.
I will just pull up the existing agreement. Sign.
Increase,
And I love how it starts March 1st and we're just seeing it now for the first time.
Well, they send me things and
is one RST,
Oh, yeah.
it's not First.
Right.
That
Yeah, I
really
saw that
got
too.
but for Tom's memo, the first word, our current leachate hauling vendor.
Mhm.
Yes.
are you guys making fun of me again?
Yep. And we're gonna talk to your mother.
But Tom, I really like having the bookmarks. I really appreciate it.
Oh,
So
bookmarks.
for-
Oh,
I think Cheryl was the one that originally requested that. My
Although
mom.
I have asked for the agenda to be a bookmark item and it never is.
Oh, have you? I missed that. I'm sorry. Okay.
mhm.
I just put it in myself.
Well, mine, I just have this button. I can automatically go back to page one.
I
and that's
know, you
always-
told me that, but I, just like the iPad and the
Okay.
iPhone, I don't have that.
So what
Right.
they're,
And
what,
me neither.
what they're proposing for the small truck, 4,200 gallons,
Mhm.
is going from 180 to the 223.
Okay, wow.
The larger truck is going from 214 to
To
265.
So in your
Not a
memo,
lot.
would you put the old numbers and
Yes. I
talk
will.
about the percent increase just to inform us?
Gas prices.
Yeah, I mean, it's fuel and insurance and just labor costs to some extent, but mostly fuel insurance, I believe. And I will, tell you, because it's been a while. I mean, we put this out for quotes. We didn't do a request for proposal or anything, but
Did you get anything other than biennial?
Well, this was what, 2 years ago, 3 years?
No, it was longer than that. No,
No, I
it was
wasn't-
before the pandemic. With Todd Septic Service was the
Oh,
only other
yeah,
one
I
that
remember
responded. And shortly after we went through all of that and went with Binafanio, he actually passed away. Now his son is still operating the business. But part of the issue that we had, I mean, when Binafanio looked at doing this, they went and bought these two trucks when they got this.
Oh,
I mean, and that's part of our issue is having somebody that is actually set up to provide the service demand that we need. I mean, we need somebody that if we have, if
If
we're,
it, if it
if
needs it
we're in
right
the middle
away,
of a torrential rain and lift station go down, I need a truck now.
yeah,
Yeah.
but Bynum Faneuil is the only big operator around.
Yeah, Tons has a 4,000 plus gallon truck. And then I've seen A1 or Owens Septic. I've seen them with a truck running around that's probably 4,000 gallons or more. But I don't know much about them and what, how many of those trucks do they have? How many staff do they have?
And they do it on demand.
How much are they gonna, when I call you at 3 a.m. and say, get out here now, what's that gonna cost me?
The lower truck, it's an increase of 23.9%. The bigger truck, it's a 19.2% increase.
Okay. That's substantial.
Yeah, it is.
It is. It does also include the disposal.
Mhm.
But the gas prices really have gone up a bit too. And those are heavy trucks to be moving them, where they get two or 3 miles to the gallon kind of thing.
They don't,
Ouch.
yeah, they're not the most fuel efficient vehicles out there.
They're not
But anyway,
electric either.
But I did, I went through, and unfortunately we had another meeting to get to. He said he had to go, but I reviewed this with him and, he's saying we're on sound footing to just make this change and move forward without having to go through another bid process or anything like
Okay.
that. We can,
Hmm.
there's clauses in county ordinances and state statute
That for price increases.
that allow for this to happen.
Okay,
And how long would this agreement?
Just for a year, it says.
It's a year with renewal options in there, but no escalator clause. So if they,
mhm,
and part of the reason we're doing this is we never formally renewed or terminated the previous one. So,
Which it was always just for a year?
yeah, which would expire last March. We just continued on with both parties operating under the terms of the previous agreement. So according to Lee, there's an implied contract there. And that's, so we're just taking that implied contract, we're making an amendment
Formalizing,
and,
yeah.
and we'll see what happens. And if fuel costs continue to bounce all over the place, that this is something that, next March, April, whatever start date we put on it, we'll want to make sure that we're reviewing this and are they going to, do we need to request a decrease? Are they going to come back and ask for another increase? Because now we're paying $8 a gallon for gas or whatever.
mhm.
But this locks us into these rates for a year.
For at least a year, yes.
Okay.
That's the one bright spot I would say is at least they can't jack it up more for a year.
Well, they probably have a firm quote on what their insurance is. It's the
It's the gas. Or diesel.
Okay, let's move on to the appointment to the CAC.
So wait,
Oh, excuse me.
does this agreement have to go to the board?
Yes.
Yeah.
Lee said the board would need to
Approve it.
approve it and then the board chair sign it.
Okay.
And so
But is it a
how-
resolution or is it?
how is it, is it just
It's just an agreement.
just an agreement and it's done by a vote?
Got
Okay.
it.
And it's done by a roll call vote because it's financial?
Well, I honestly don't know what the law is on that, but historically, yeah, financial decisions, we would,
Okay,
whether we're in person or a hybrid, or we would do a roll call.
okay.
Yeah, we might have somebody hybrid, somebody zooming in too.
Mhm. Okay, so now back to the new person requesting appointment to CAC. I was thrilled to read their letter and qualifications.
This is the
Experience.
gentleman, I don't know if you recall, I think he's acquaintance of yours, but he sat in as public at the February meeting. January meeting. So, but so anyway, yeah, he attended at Joe's request or invitation as a member of the public, and out of that,
Very
decided that he would have an interest in joining the committee.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. Okay. Number 11, Executive Director Job Performance Review. We are, this is something that we need to do from time to time. And we should discuss how we want to carry this out.
Now, I just want to point out that spelling and grammar is not in the job description.
True. We could change that, right?
I wanted to know if we could get a copy of the last review, the 2018 review. I assume there was something written.
Yeah, and I have looked for it, and it's not in my person. So I have to find it.
Oh my gosh, where would it be?
It,
Is it just wandering around on some computer
I'm
somewhere?
going to check and see if it's at my house. I don't know if I would have taken it home and filed it away there. But what I remembered and what I was looking for, is I think it was Julie had developed a spreadsheet, a matrix.
Oh, that would be very.
Yes,
And that's
That's
what
exactly what
I
I
was
was
trying to find.
and we don't have that.
Was that matrix.
Yeah.
Julie
So-
probably still has it.
Julie may have it.
And then, yeah, and I don't know, it was a spreadsheet, and I don't know if I ever got an Excel version of that. I may have just got a PDF version of it.
Would you like me to contact Julie on this? 2018, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm
I'll
pretty
do
sure
that.
she was the one that developed the matrix for everyone to use to
Right.
take their notes and grades and.
Right. So one of the things I think is most important is us having the job description, because that is certainly going to be the basis of what's in that matrix.
Mhm.
And
And I think
those
that,
are the,
yeah, and I think that really all that matrix did was took all those,
Yeah.
each task had a box, and then
yeah,
your, I don't,
Comments.
score, grade, and notes, and areas for improvement or what have you.
right. And so I don't know how I don't remember the matrix well enough to know, to be able to describe the process of filling it out. But how can we handle this
Do you want me to reach out to Julie and just say the executive committee asked for this? I recall, do you still have that spreadsheet that you can send me a blank copy of for the committee to use?
It's a blank copy, but I'd also like the completed copy.
Well, yeah,
So-
I'll find it.
Okay,
I have to have it somewhere.
you have to have it somewhere, yeah. Okay,
Maybe I need to check Scott's. This is the folder behind mine in the personnel.
okay. But if we ask Julie, she might have both of them.
She
She
could,
may not have a blank one anymore. It may be filled out. That's okay.
Easy to blanket.
We can blank it.
well, yeah, if it's in Excel, you can make it,
We
you
can-
can zero it out.
Yeah.
We can blank it. I'm not worried about blanking, but
Okay,
so,
but we want to look for a copy of the 2018 review
mhm.
and the
So I'm glad,
matrix that was used.
if you want to do this, I'm happy to give any to-dos away.
Oh, that's fine. I can,
Okay,
This job description is I'm gonna say vague, but it doesn't really break down, according to the departments of the district. The education, which isn't really a department anymore, but you know what I
Yeah.
mean,
The functions.
the functions of the district. The South Walnut Street Center, the rural centers, the landfill. That kind of stuff, I think would be helpful to kind of reflect upon these general duties in each of those contexts. So that would help me, I think,
Mhm.
narrow down this vague, provides clear and accurate information. Okay.
but maybe
In which-
maybe Tom's doing a great job with education, but really screwing up with the rural sites. No,
Well, I just think it would be helpful to have not
Right.
just
mhm,
this list, which is very upper level,
Mhm.
but also, and it's darn long list. I mean, maybe we could combine some of these. And then have, have that in one column and then have across the top, here are the 4 different
Sectors.
departments or sectors
Yeah,
of the district's work. I think that would be helpful.
The board certainly always has the option to, I mean, you can revise job descriptions at your pleasure.
Well, I was just thinking for the review, once we get the matrix, if we can get it from Julie, we could add some categorization to it.
So you want rural sites, landfill,
Uh-huh.
HHW,
HW,
outreach and
then-
education.
Yeah,
got it.
and I don't know,
Well, but then there's still, we still have what we call the environmental compliance, which is the adopter of the illegal dumping.
okay.
Okay.
Coordinating with community groups for, community cleanups.
Okay,
And then I think
got that.
budget and finance should be another category.
Fiscal oversight.
Starting to become unwieldy.
Well, what's unwieldy is this bullet list with 15, 20 things on it.
Mhm.
That's unwieldy. But I think, I could combine a few of these because it's really, some of these are really kind of overlapping anyway.
Well,
This is a revision of what was an older job description.
Yeah, this has been tweaked at least once since I've been director,
Mhm.
but I really, all that I've ever done is the format that, that I inherited. We've just stuck with that and made the revisions. And but like I said, it's certainly within the board's purview to modify job descriptions at your pleasure.
Well, I wouldn't want to do that without your input. And actually, that was my next point, is that if we, the 3 of us executive committee members, are reviewing and putting comments in a matrix, I think Tom should do the same about his own. Evaluate your own.
That's what I was-
That's how we do it at IU.
That's how, I was just going to say the same thing, with reference to the job description, thinking of those as elements. That is what I have done for all performance reviews.
Mhm.
I will dig again and try to find paperwork from 2018, and I will also reach out to Julie to see if she still has that matrix somewhere.
Okay.
You guys could get a hold of.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and I want to know how we can legally proceed without having another executive committee meeting to get this going.
Did we
I thought-
already have a meeting?
I thought we had something scheduled for the 18th, and it'll just be its own independent meeting. It'll be an executive session.
But my thinking about the 18th was that we would have completed our comments, evaluation, and then discuss it first among the committee and then with you. But the 18th is not very far away right now.
Well, I have
don't know
not-
How soon we can get the.
I have not advertised that yet,
Oh, okay,
so for reasons like this,
yeah.
it
And we-
doesn't change at the last minute, so.
And I want all of us to be happy about the matrix or whatever format we're going to use.
Mhm.
I would think the 18th would be the time for us to go over that format together and see if we want to make any revisions. What do you think?
Yeah, that's.
The purpose of the 18th meeting.
Well, give me a couple of days, let me
Mhm.
find the 2018 paperwork, see if Julie happens to still have that matrix, and then see what I can provide to you, how fast, and we can adjust
Yeah.
that schedule, because nothing's been advertised yet.
Right.
So we
So-
can adjust that schedule if we
Yeah,
need to.
definitely want it in Excel. So,
Yeah, and I think you're right, Cheryl. We should not rush it because for some of these things, you know, we might want to reach out to the CAC, we want to reach out to our colleagues, you know. How do you think Tom is doing with this and that?
And you still want, you had previously asked for just kind of a chronological listing of events and changes that have occurred at the district since 2018.
I did.
Somebody did. I have a note for that somewhere.
That sounds like a good idea.
I
don't
don't
remember
remember
that.
this at all.
I don't remember that either.
So it must not have come from
I
me.
was gonna say, yeah, but it makes sense. I mean,
Yeah.
the expansion of what you've been doing with composting, and I mean, no, the city was doing that, sorry. But there-
Well, and there was a kind of a reorganization staff wise.
Well, yeah, we've
We did it.
we restructured a little bit at South Walnut. There's,
Yeah.
there's big and small. I mean, we got the food waste bins at all the recycle centers now. There's something.
But also there was the change in staffing at the recycling centers so that, yeah,
That was more regular and
Mhm.
seemed to
Yeah.
make everybody
We
happier.
reduced the schedule of rural sites from 5 to 4 days a week. The pandemic happened.
Yeah,
The pandemic
that
happened.
little detail.
So, I mean, I had a note to that and I started putting that together. If I don't have to
Thank you.
finish it, but if it's something that you still want, I'll
I think
continue
it
on.
would be helpful.
I think it would be helpful too. I do remember from our board discussion, though, that the other board members were more than happy to turn this review over to the executive committee. So I don't know about asking them to look back in and tell us anything. I think we will get a resounding lack of response.
Okay, but what about asking Joe or
That's
as
different.
the CAC to
Yeah.
give us their feedback?
because you are responsive, Joe. Okay.
Yes.
You are, you are.
And-
You
We
were
really
And
appreciate
but
it.
actually, working with the CAC
Yeah.
is one of the duties of the director.
Right, I noticed
And we
that.
don't have that on our list. We've got rural
You
sites.
got that Visa
landfill.
card, right?
I'm gonna add CAC to the list.
Kathy
Okay.
just popped up
Well,
there.
that's less of a, I was thinking more, what was the word you used, Penny? The categories are like functions,
Functions.
functions of the district, and CAC is not a function of the district. CAC is more like,
Well,
you
if,
know,
No, but there are things in the job description related specifically
Yes.
to
To CAC.
that's what,
Yeah, yeah.
so
I did
Yeah,
notice
yeah.
that, yeah.
functions and relations.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't know what to
well,
call
I
it.
think it would be helpful to have that meeting on the 18th and see how we can
See how we can
make our
structure.
matrix work.
Yeah.
Well, and I didn't see anything, maybe I missed it in the job description about, like the new 5-year plan and writing those.
That it's in there.
Is it?
It's
Okay,
in there.
I'm suffering from lack of sleep, so.
Well, but there's things that happen outside of our control and influence, like the internal control.
That was new.
That was a
Yeah, I mean, that was,
There's
the
a new
State Board of
thing.
Accounts came in and said, you need to adopt this policy. And, I don't know that it's in the controller job description. There's nothing specific to internal controls in my job description, but it's something we had to do. Told we had to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have to follow it, yeah,
Set other duties as assigned.
yeah.
That catch-all category.
Yeah.
So is it 5 PM on the 18th?
Let me see what I've got on my
I
calendar
didn't have
already.
it on my calendar either, but I put it in for 5 just now. That's what I was doing.
I don't, I'd have to go find the email.
I'm pretty sure I put it in my calendar. Oh, no, I did not.
None of us got it.
Oh, we can just decide then, since none of us.
Okay, I'm fine for 5-ish or 5:30, either way. And should we request?
April the 18th at 5:30,
18th.
what was emailed.
Attend my other one. It starts
And
at 5.
And I'll confirm with Lee, but I'm pretty sure that the question previously was asked and Lee said that this could occur via Zoom.
Oh.
Oh, I would love that.
Cheryl, I think you asked if that could be
I
done
did.
during Zoom, and
Yeah.
he said yes, and I'll confirm that with him. But it's
Now-
not like there's any action being taken. There's no public allowed.
Yeah, so this is an exec.
Executive session of the executive committee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Writing Zoom on here.
Yeah, hopefully Julie still has that.
I sure hope so.
I hope so.
So,
'Cause I couldn't
so
find
on
it.
that, when you get that, would you please send it out to us so we can get our brains
Yes,
wrapped around it and
Put it in Dropbox.
can do.
very good. So now we'll just move into something that I'm so tired of talking about. That is the host fee.
Oh, it's not an issue.
It's not now. Well, the facility in question has been withdrawn because he didn't get the zoning change he wanted.
Oh, okay.
So doesn't mean it won't be represented at some point in the
Yeah.
future, but if that facility is now no longer under consideration,
Right.
that was the only thing
And
the
a-
Republic was threatening the host fee over at
Right,
this time.
okay. So, why did the zoning fail?
Because of the fires that are associated oftentimes with these kinds of facilities. When they cut the metal,
Yeah, it's really, they torch it.
well, and not only that, if there's zinc and magnesium in the metal and you get dust with that, those are really flammable, apparently. And there was a fire down at their facility in Bedford. It took something like 8 or 9 hours to put out.
Oh, my God.
And that's with them having 2 hydrants that they could access, where they're talking about,
These have no hydrants.
there are no
Right.
hydrants out there.
No.
Yeah, it would all
Yeah.
have to be trucked in, basically.
Man,
And then, their water runoff concerns, then if they have all this.
and Clear
going on.
Creek is right next door.
Yeah, so we were like, we don't think this is a good fit for
The already,
our county.
the already highly impacted Clear Creek.
Yeah.
I thought Chief Dillard really
Oh, he
laid
just,
it out at
nailed
the
it.
commissioners
Yeah.
meeting about, we're gonna have to run hoses across the highway and across this pond and that creek. and-
I hadn't
I am
really made up
sure-
my mind until I heard from him. And that just, we asked him to come and talk about it, but when we heard about the fires, different places,
Yeah,
not just
that
in
was
Bedford.
really,
But they had to, in Bedford, they had to call in their first and third shifts to staff the other stations because everybody was out there.
And then Chief Dillard said that it was Bloomington's hazmat team wound up down there doing air samples and.
well, that's another issue.
So,
That would
yeah.
be bad. Okay,
So that's off your plate, Cheryl.
that's off the agenda
That's
for
correct.
the board meeting.
Which wouldn't have gone anywhere because his agreement is with the solid waste district, not with the county.
Right.
What? Whose agreements with the solid waste district?
The public's.
So,
Oh, yeah.
so we have a discussion item on future staffing needs.
Well, Ms. Piedmont Smith had sent an email.
Good.
The email was specific to, did we want to or need to look at consider adding an additional education or outreach position with some of the new direction that's in the 5-year plan. And I just kind of broadened that to just staffing in general.
Well, I think this is a very good time to do this because it won't be long before we start dealing with budget. So,
Right. I, specific to the question posed, I think it is something worth talking about and considering. But I think that, and I think that's one of the things that the CAC wanted to discuss at the joint meeting, was looking at the 5-year plan and kind of assessing where we are in the process of starting to achieve some of the goals and objectives. And I think as we start to have that discussion and look at the goals and objectives and what are we doing, what do we need to do, and how are we going to move forward, that's where, whether it's education and outreach or truck drive, that's where looking at staffing and we need to add or subtract positions comes in.
So should that district staffing be moved to the joint meeting agenda?
Well, it's certainly something that, and that's kind of up to the floor of you to, what do we want to discuss at the joint meeting?
Well, first the study.
Well, I was really, my idea was focused on kind of a waste diversion program manager position. Because really we need to focus on reducing waste the furthest upstream as possible. So that's really focused on education, people
And
not
I think that comes back
buying
to,
just disposable things and really for the organic waste, focusing on large producers, groceries, restaurants, et cetera. And I think there's just a lot of work to be done to facilitate between different entities and educate the business community and, involve MCCSC and the Richland Bean Blossom schools and on the upper level. I know we have Ms. Pokral who goes to classrooms and talks to the children, but I'm talking
But
about
we need to be in the higher, in the
upper level.
administrative offices.
Here's how you could
Yeah.
reduce your waste
Yeah.
as a district.
and she's tried to branch out beyond the schools. One of the silver linings of the pandemic, that, she really didn't have a choice, but
Yeah.
okay, I can't get into the schools, so who can I reach and how can I reach them? And she's done a couple of the Green Chat webinar things that have been attended. I hoped we would have better attendance and participation in those, but it's new. It's, we got to start somewhere. So she has, tried to branch out. And I think you had asked at the last board meeting about messages related to consumerism and, reducing just your purchasing, changing your purchasing. And then, and she does have, we do have some things with those messages. But now that the pandemic is settling down and she's getting back into the schools.
Then she's busy.
So, right. And so then, are we going to lose whatever foothold we've gotten because she now has to pull back? Or are we missing an opportunity, to jump in and, do we need that extra person?
Well, and I think it's a different skill set too. Doesn't she have a background as an educator working with children? So I think we really need somebody who can build relationships with other entities and collaborative projects, with the public and private sectors. And I think that would be a very good use of our extra funds.
Well, and
I think so.
we do still technically have the one unfilled truck driver position. So we have, maybe not a wash, but we have wages budgeted that aren't being spent right now.
So theoretically, we could even hire somebody before the end of this.
Yeah. So do we need that extra truck driver?
Not at this time. That would, and that.
So how did that come about
That was some of the restructuring that we did at South Walnut a year and a half or so ago. Maybe not quite, I don't know, but anyway, the assistant operations director at the time resigned to take another job. And And that was when Joey Long got promoted to
Right.
Assistant Operations Director. And Scott and I sat down with Joey and we really looked at, you know, how much of those trucks on the road, what's our unload time? You know, do we need 2 full-time drivers? You know, and we worked with Joe McNeil, GVN coordinator, and he said, no, he certainly had time to run some truck
Okay.
routes, and we have a full-time driver. And so we just thought, okay, well, let's see if we can make this work minus that position. And it's been working. So we've left it on the books because we just,
Mhm.
if it didn't work, or if the Green Business Network suddenly blew up and we got 2 new customers, then all of a sudden, but then we needed to be prepared that something could happen that we needed that position. But we're a year plus into it now, and I think that we're fine. And if GVN blows up, we can justify creating that position.
Mhm. I would love GBN to blow up, meaning expand. So what do you think, Joe, about the CAC discussing a staffing position at the joint meeting? Do you think people will want to make comments, weigh in?
I don't know that there would be a significant amount of input from other CAC members. I know I would. I can speak for myself, but maybe not for the whole CAC on that aspect. And that was definitely one of the items that I had hoped to discuss at the joint meeting, but knew that we already had the 3 proposed items of the digester, the apartment recycling, and then in particular with respect to the 5-year goals and objectives, the education and outreach and branding portion of the website, which I thought was at least the most pressing of the 5-year objective planning items to discuss, but would really like to include the broader planning conversation that Mr. McClassen just mentioned about incorporating the full picture of prioritizing the objectives that have already been set up, and then trying to reach those targets throughout the remainder of the plan duration.
Would it make sense to have that discussion? This may be the wrong way to put it, in more of a broad sense, of just, what do we want to do? How do we do it? And not really look at it from a staffing perspective right away. What do we want to do? And how are we going to do that? And then we take that, okay, can we do it with existing staff? Do we need additional staff or a new position? Does it make sense what I'm
What we
saying?
want to do, isn't that already in the 5-year plan?
That's in the plan.
Well, it is,
But there are many things in the plan, and so priorities.
But there's a number of different ways to pursue the goals and objectives of what we want to do. So, and prioritize. We can't do it all at once.
Right, I do see a value in considering alternatively a broader position, like a 5-year plan manager role, whose role it is to implement the tasks of the 5-year management plan, which would include the.
Except unfortunately, that's already in my job description.
Is that okay? I read in further detail then, okay.
But to
No, then-
operationalize things, you would still oversee it.
Right. In that case, yeah, then.
And that's kind of, why I think maybe it's better to have a more of a broad and general discussion about how we're going to pursue achieving the goals and objectives and what does that mean? And then, is it just an outreach position? Or do we need to bring a more broad position, and where part of it would be outreach, part of it would be doing this, part of it would be doing that, as we try to move towards the goals and objectives. Because I don't until we get in and really discuss, how is the district, what tasks are we going to undertake to further our goals and objectives? It's hard to define a position.
Yeah, I was thinking of it in relation to the biodigester study, because the opportunity cost of the biodigester study is that we won't have as much money to implement directly some of the things in our 5-year plan. So that's why I was kind of pushing this idea forward pretty quickly, because I feel like we need to think about that when we make a decision on the biodigester. Now, we could do both. I'm not saying we can't.
So I think financially, we have enough money that we can go.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we have the
So-
one budgeted position that's not currently filled.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd forgotten about
And
that.
we're a quarter of the way through the year, so even if we're gonna create a position and pay it a little bit more, we may not need an appropriation because we may have the money there.
Right.
not for this.
But then we also have to consider moving forward and the ongoing expense of that position, and how does that fit into the bigger picture of our budget? Not to say that means we, just dismiss things because they cost money. Everything we do costs money, but again, it comes down to the prioritizing
And where to get the biggest bang for the buck as far as meeting our goal.
But I do think that, and like I said, we got into it a little bit with the pandemic and not being able to get into the schools, but now that Elisa is able to get back into schools, I think there is an opportunity, in the business community with some of the institutions that we're not taking advantage of.
So I think I really like having Alyssa in the schools, working with the kids, because when you educate the kids, you can educate their families to a certain degree. And I don't know exactly what she does in her programs, but
Yeah, I'm kind of curious.
I know how this works in education programs that I've been involved with. It really can be helpful.
It's all out on the website for classroom presentations of curriculum. And she does have, it's set up more as a growing series of growth. It's not saying, here's today's lesson, and I'll come back next month, and now we're way over here. There is some correlation, and it's a growth thing where, over the course of a school year, when she's been in a classroom 5 or 6 times, we've built up to this point.
So I remember we did have a discussion about this strategy, that she spends a lot of time with particular schools and doesn't get out to more broadly. And so that's a trade-off as to how much education you can do. Her repeated teaching of kids probably really imparts knowledge and thoughtfulness about the environment and waste. But I think there are so many kids out there that don't have any connection.
Well, it's not for lack of trying. I mean, she reaches out to all of them.
And
Some schools
are just not
receptive to it. They have science teachers there that are already doing a lot of that stuff, and so they just keep it in the school. And but some schools, welcome her with open arms, and others, she can't even get her toe in the door. I can't explain why that.
Wow.
is.
Wow. I always
She's the one that's dealt with it, and if you want, I can ask her to, to explain to you guys, why she gets in these schools and not that schools. And there's a couple of them that she gets in once a year, but doesn't get to do her full series.
Yeah.
Part of it's the principal.
Sure.
Yeah, and that's what
Sure.
and that became real evident during the pandemic, because it was not a system-wide policy.
Mhm.
Some schools let outsiders in, others would not.
That's
But
surprising.
we have a new CAC member who's with MCCSC.
Right.
Administration, correct?
Right.
So maybe we'll see some changes in this regard.
I think it's an opportunity for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's, like the MCCSC, wanted representation on the CAC, but we potentially benefit from
Yeah.
that relationship as well.
Right.
Okay, well, there's a blank memorandum. That is our last action item for
It's not.
today. Oh, well.
Not totally blank.
It says,
It's got a sentence on
it
it.
says, I'm requesting that we establish the agenda, so let's get this done. What do we want to cover?
Well, let me just, so we want the CBU MOU on there as discussion and action. The board doesn't have to act, but we want it advertised or the agenda to show that there's a chance for action, right?
Yes.
Discussion and board action is what we need to say. Will there be, is there already a resolution or a statement for approval? Does this have to be a resolution?
I'll check with Leah. I don't think it needs to be done under a resolution. We're presenting you
So
an informal, it's an informal agreement. It's a memorandum of understanding. Now, I mean, if you want it under resolution, I can certainly put it under resolution.
I just always think it's easier.
I mean, that's, you tell me how you
No,
want it.
it's fine.
I'll put it, I'll present it however you want to present it. Unless Lee says that's illegal, you can't do that.
If he says we can just approve it, if we don't need it, that's fine by me, so.
Joseph had several things that you mentioned, right?
I actually wanted to ask with respect to this particular item on the agenda, there was an offer extended to CBU staff to join the subsequent, at the last board meeting, there was an invitation for them to join the following board meeting. And there was an inquiry from the CAC if there would be anyone from CBU in attending. I think just out of curiosity, I was wondering if that had been followed through, if anyone, like Director Kelson, for example, plans to be present again, or if this would just be
But he
now.
just so happens to have sent me an email while we've all been sitting here.
Oh, well, there you go.
So
How timely.
he wants to know if I have time to talk about all of that this week before these meetings, so
Okay.
I will explain to him the setup and that this is being bumped to the joint meeting
Okay.
agenda, which won't
I
start.
think it would be helpful for somebody from
Yes.
CBU.
Oh, I
to
think
be
so.
there, because there could be questions that we can't.
I mean, well, and at the last board meeting, the invitation was already extended. We're going to continue this session. Please come back to the April meeting. So when I talk to Vic, I'll tell him, okay, we're doing 2 meetings and here's how it's going to work. And make sure that him or Schrader, I think, was he had Wheeler, the attorney, with him at the last meeting. Then the meeting before that, I think there was somebody named Schrader, one of the engineers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I'm confident that, Vic will, if it's not him, he will try to make somebody available. This is important enough to them.
So would you prepare a motion in case there is for the
The resolution,
non-resolution?
Let's just.
Well, it would just
Motion
be
to
a
approve
motion
it.
to approve the MOU.
Yeah.
somebody on the board just needs to make a motion
Oh.
that we agree and enter into the memorandum of understanding. If there's a second,
Okay.
then you can take a vote.
Okay, so that's all we need.
That's all you gotta do.
We don't have to have any specifics. I was concerned that we have to have specifics.
The specifics are all in the memorandum.
And should we go ahead and put that first in case board members have to leave?
I think.
Yes.
I think so.
Yes, if that's going to be the actionable item, that, yeah. And that's the other thing, as you have this discussion and think about your agenda, I prioritize this.
Yes.
Because the later we get, the more likely you are that by attrition, you're going to lose some board members.
You're gonna,
Trust me, I've already considered that. And I was on that note going to mention that at the last CAC meeting, we had the opportunity to discuss collectively more further the digester after having had the confidential MOU provided to us, and there were no further remarks. So I was surprised, and I consequently don't know quite what to expect from.
So there may be-
the CAC.
it may be a very
Maybe
brief
short.
discussion.
Could be.
Okay.
I do
Well,
still
no,
have.
maybe we did, there were at least two of our board members that were present last time. So they may have
Right.
a lot to talk about.
Julie and
Yeah.
Lee.
Lee.
And I do, at least on my own behalf, anticipate taking up the remark that you had made, Isabel, about the trade-off, the benefit trade-off of investing in this versus the potential other 5-year management plans or staffing options as well. So I think I know there will be content to discuss that I plan to bring to the table, but I don't know that it will be abundant of CAC voices, of course.
Also, maybe it sounds like too, that there's some crossover, I guess, or some overlapping with your thoughts and ideas on the MOU and your thoughts and ideas on another agenda item you had on discussing the goals and objectives in the 5-year plan.
I would say so.
Because you're looking at that opportunity cost. We can put the money here or we can put the money here.
Precisely, yes, absolutely.
So that means they both should be discussed before there's an action on the.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Mhm.
I guess it kind of depends on where the goal and direction, the goal and objective discussion goes and what kind of costs that we're looking at. Because the other thing too, that then I will probably say something similar to this at the joint meeting, that, the MOU with CBU is a one-time cost. It's substantial, but it's a one-time cost. And it's not, that's not the same as creating another position where every year we got to fund that again and again and again. And that's when you look at those opportunity costs, that's one of the things we have to take into consideration. Is it a one-time expense or is it a recurring ongoing expense? How do we fund that?
Where is the 5-year plan on the website? I can never find it.
Well, it's changed. It's actually, it's in the,
There's a resource.
it's in the public document archive.
Public
Sources.
document archive.
So on the current Go Green District website, there's a resources menu option at the top of the page.
Yeah.
And then there is, I believe it's waste studies and reports.
Oh.
It's the last item.
Waste studies.
The very first item on that page is
Got
the
it.
waste district management plan.
Oh, no, of course.
It's buried in.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's.
It's not really easy to find because studies and reports is not what I would call it.
I mean, it's such a.
By all means, I'm open to making it as easy to find as possible. And there's, again, a lot of information in this site, so I don't know that there's much more space to push things up to the front because of the number of things they cannot. all
But there
in
might
front.
be a way to link it to
There
where
is
it is.
from the homepage, actually, at the bottom, a link to the resources section, but not.
But not
directly
5-year
to the
plan.
management plan page.
I think the 5-year plan should be very easy to find and notice as you're going through the website.
Okay.
I would put it under about. Just have a
Yeah.
5-year plan, right? Under about.
About.
That's just me. And I'm sorry, I'm going off on a tangent.
Definitely be interested in further thoughts offline if you want to submit those. Yeah, other
So,
channels.
so I'm just juggling with the staffing regarding 5-year plan implementation and the CBU, this MOU.
Well, I was just pointing out that I think when,
We have,
for Joe's thoughts, there's a little bit of overlap there because he wants to look at $60,000, whatever it is, so we can do this with it, or we can do this, or this, or this. Once you move beyond the MOU, if I'm misinterpreting, let me know, but because he's looking at the goals and objectives and other things we're trying to achieve, and could that money get a bigger bang for the buck here or here?
Precisely. Yeah, the
So-
intent was to present a very brief set of options as to alternatives that the opportunity costs would have. And
But I think that's still a separate discussion that we want to have at the joint meeting. But maybe, I don't know how much this muddies the water, but for the purposes of the agenda, the MOU goes first, because if we're going to vote, we want everybody there.
yeah,
But maybe, before if it gets to the point that the board is ready to vote, maybe before the vote is taking, Joe or somebody else with the CAC be given an opportunity just to say, one of the other things that we're looking at and considering is the opportunity cost of the $65,000. And just, give somebody from the CAC a few minutes to point out some of the other things that could happen with that money before the board actually takes a vote.
Mhm.
Then the vote happens, whoever from the board is going to go goes, and then we just move right into the 5-year plan goals and objectives discussion. And again, I think it's important to look at things that are one-time costs versus
That's
recurring
what,
costs.
and that can come up, right?
Because we have
Right
cash
there.
reserves, and just because we spend this $65,000 over here doesn't mean we have no money over here.
And I do believe that the 5-year management plan conversation does warrant then opportunity costs aside, a discussion.
Right.
That would not be related to the digester proposal.
Yeah, and where would, if the digester MOU was approved, where does that fit into the 5-year plan? Kind of thing?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Very good point.
Yeah, I think that would
I
be
really like that.
the rationale for talking about the 5-year plan. Like, our first agenda item is the biodigester MOU study. And in that context,
We're-
okay, how does that fit in with our 5-year?
Yeah, exactly.
And are there other things that $60,000 could buy that are better?
Mhm.
That have higher priority.
That
to our
is,
5-year
that's
plan?
really a good mesh.
And then somebody could also say,
that's the case that
yes,
the
and.
building.
Yes, and there are one-time expenses. in them.
So I guess the point is there's going to be some bleed over between those two agenda items. And I think that's fine. That happens at a lot of
Yeah.
where we do that stuff. So
And if, for me, if this new person comes in with the waste diversion and reduction kind of manager, this may shift other costs for the solid waste district. It may reduce other costs
it could.
in terms of what we pay for different things. Yeah, I mean,
Well, I mean,
It's possible.
ideally, if we succeed at what, the gist of our mission is, our orange bag costs go way down.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
mean,
Right. Making
That would
some
be-
obsolete.
but it's not just the orange bags. It's some of these
It's-
other recycling things.
it's
We're
all
having to
that.
pay people to haul away.
Yep.
Well, unfortunately, we're always going to have to pay to haul,
But
but it's a matter of can
Pay
we
less to haul.
if you're
pay less to
hauling
haul,
less,
we're
yeah,
hauling
yeah.
less. There's also still
There might be some,
hope in the industry that we may one day get money off that stuff again.
yeah. Speaking of which, is there any discussion about glass going on that you know of
Yeah. There's,
with Rumpke?
well, no, we're not, well, not directly.
Mhm.
We've had those discussions, and until they get a facility close to up
That's
and
it.
running, there's not really much else to discuss.
Mhm.
But there was a bill passed this session that took some of the recycling market development grant funds and earmarked them for a pilot program specific to glass in Marion County. And that's gosh, I can't think of the fiberglass company now that was at a meeting that I was at, but the manufacturing sector got involved in this bill, and it was the fiberglass manufacturers predominantly as we need glass, help us find glass.
Glass for
creating fiberglass.
Yeah.
fiberglass for insulation.
Right. And then there's a couple of other
And they do
industries in Indiana that
prepare,
use
use
that glass
glass
solid
for
for other things, and but that's where that pilot came.
highway construction.
Yeah, for the.
Aggregate.
Yeah, but that's where that bill came from, and
Mm,
that
That's,
the purpose of the pilot program is to help find and build the infrastructure to get glass from here to here.
yeah,
That's,
Great.
that's in the meetings that I was in, when we were, John's Mansfield, that's who,
John's Mansfield, not Mansfield.
okay, yeah, but,
Mansfield.
Mansfield.
but that, that was all the districts where they're telling these industry reps, help us move it.
Yeah,
We can't afford to move it.
I grew up 4 blocks away from the Johns Manville plant in Richmond.
There you go. So anyway, but so yes,
That's
there,
good.
there are, there are things happening related to glass
Right.
at the state level, just not happening right here, right
Right.
now.
And plastic, remember the discussion about plastics?
Well, they got the facility up in Ashley, that I actually had, I had a chance to go tour it. I had a con,
Ooh,
I can't remember what it was, but
I'd like to,
Allison at Circular Indiana said there'd be other touring opportunities, so.
I'd like to go.
What do they do
Yeah,
with
what-
the plastic?
It's,
They are recycling it.
they're breaking it down to the petroleum,
Yeah,
and they have two products come out of it, a low grade diesel fuel and a wax.
yeah.
I think it's a wax.
Yeah.
Wow.
That you can make candles. and stuff.
Was it wax or was it that, or was it more of a lubricant? I can't remember.
I don't-
But I read about it. Yeah.
Yeah, but wax, but then they'll take straws, plastic wrap, Walmart bag, they'll take it all.
Sweet.
Yeah, wouldn't that be?
Yeah,
So,
I mean, better yet to not even do straws in Walmart bags, but.
Right,
right.
but most, I am so irritated when I get a straw with my water
They still
flask.
automatically
But
stick
that's,
in there.
but there's
Right.
another example where, they're in Ashley. I mean, that's about as far northeast as you can get.
Yeah,
Okay.
And so for us, we still gotta get it there.
Yeah,
yeah.
yep. Can we try to wrap it up? It's already
It is, yeah, it
7:21.
is.
Yeah.
We have to get this agenda done right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
the MOU, and then we want, what do we, the
5-year
the
plan.
5-year, I mean, we just wanna,
5-year plan and,
what do we wanna call that? Other than, I mean, do we,
well,
5-year plan progress?
5-year
Yeah,
plan.
5-year plan
Implementation.
review?
Progress and implementation strategies.
That's-
How about implementation and staff? We get,
Staff
I
in there.
do not, if I put staffing on something that the staff sees, there's.
oh,
Gonna freak out.
okay, forget it. It's Implementation, they won't know that.
Well, it's not gonna negatively affect our current staff.
But that's not
That's
their
not-
first
That's
thought
not
will
the
be.
interpretation.
Yeah. It's like, do we need to cut staff is what they'll think.
Right.
Yeah, we need to cut staff to implement our plan.
Yes.
Doesn't make any sense, but yes, I understand.
Yeah,
So 5-year
okay.
plan implementation,
Yeah,
is that,
that sounds,
okay?
okay. Joe, what were the other items that you had?
So the other item was specifically also requested by another CAC member, which was the apartment recycling program. I think just kind of a check-in on the specifics of that particular activity.
Aren't very much. You were gonna send me the specs again for the site.
Oh, I did you not? It was from my phone while our email was technically down, but
No, I don't think I
we have
got
been
it.
able to send things, but that's all right.
This is the specs for,
For a downtown site, like how big it has to be. and
There was-
stuff like that.
And I don't know if it was either an executive committee meeting or a board meeting that I had in the memo that stuff about, we need at least this square footage.
yeah.
We have to have space for the trucks to get in and out and things,
Mhm.
the road
All right, I
stuff.
could try and look for it. Excuse me.
But to
I
look
found it.
downtown. Mhm.
I'll just forward it on to you again.
Well, our deputy mayor, as you know, is into real estate.
He is
said
into
would-
real estate,
He said he would put his ear to the ground and see. if
right? I was
I
also,
could buy a spot for
I
it.
was also thinking about BEDC. They have their
Oh, yeah.
ear to the ground on everything, and
I could reach out to Jen Pearl.
that would be very nice.
Did this one come through?
Because this would be an amenity that they would really like to be able to talk about when they're shopping Bloomington.
Yeah, quality of life.
Mhm.
Well, I don't know, BDDC is mostly trying to get employers here.
Yeah, but they look at quality of life.
They do.
which-
Ah,
That's what I'm
Yeah.
talking about. Yeah.
yes, I got it. Thank you.
So what was the next thing, please? Joe?
I believe that's all of them. I
So
have-
apartment recycling, I got that.
Yes, and then the only other one that I had listed was related to the rebranding, which I think if we were to undertake the overall 5-year management plan implementation, I think it would fall completely underneath that. It wouldn't need to be a separate agenda item.
Yeah, I think
I think this is
we have
gonna
plenty
be,
to talk about.
Yeah,
I think this is too long a meeting to be
and that was
bringing that in.
the
Yeah.
primary reason that I worried about taking on the whole 5-year management implementation versus just addressing the rebranding portion of it within the scope of this meeting. So the
Oh.
original item proposed was just to discuss the rebranding, knowing that there was already apartment recycling and digester conversation to have. So
So the rebranding.
Well, but it can be discussed under how to implement goals of 5-year plan, because that's one of the goals.
right.
Yeah.
Just that.
But the advantage of discussing just that is that it would drastically shorten the scope of the conversation from implementing the entire 5-year management plan to
Okay.
this one
got it.
aspect of it.
Yeah, but we have to have a view of implementing the whole thing to understand the possible opportunity costs of the biodigester investment.
True, that did make it more, more evident of the value of undertaking this conversation now rather than down the road. Will be.
But yeah, rebranding, I think.
Right. So how about when the agenda goes out, that there is a link included to the 5-year plan to help people look at their packet and take a look at the 5-year plan again to prepare for the meeting.
When we do talk about rebranding, and maybe we can do that at a later meeting, I think it would be helpful to have Elisa, we're all there.
Okay. Yeah. And I will say, I mean, the rebranding specifically is something that I would be interested about in addressing sooner than later. We have money budgeted for the signage, but I don't want to do that unless I know that, what's the logo going to be, what's the color scheme going to be, so we have some things planned that can't move forward. They're dependent on rebranding before we can decide how to move forward.
That's precisely why I pulled it ahead of the broad scope, just knowing that it was perhaps the most time sensitive of the goals and objectives. But again, there's value to approaching it both ways now, so.
So have any of you been part of a rebranding endeavor with any of the organizations that you've been involved with?
The district about 10 years ago.
You're the subject.
What was it before Go Green?
I
This is
remember,
Monroe County Solid Waste.
yeah, Go Green was the big thing. Then there was that silly sun thing. That just.
The what?
The what?
So the silly,
The logo.
the
Oh, the
logo.
logo.
I'm sorry, I
It's
just,
a happy sun.
Thumbs up, winking green sun.
the silly thing. Okay.
Well, I mean, we
They
can see
do-
how much time we have.
They do have consultants that work with organizations on rebranding. That's all I got.
Yeah. I don't know if it's-
Well, I just, like I said, we have money budgeted for signage to do the business cards, stationery, or letterhead.
Mhm.
We budgeted planning for rebranding to occur in some way, shape, or form, and all that just kind of sitting there until we decide how to move that forward.
Did we budget in a line for consultants? For like,
Specifically for this, no, but we always have some consultant money budgeted.
Yeah,
And we also have professional services money.
mhm. And I don't have any consultant to recommend one way or another.
I don't either. I can ask some of the other districts that have moved away. Some are now called a recycling district or waste reduction. I can talk to,
waste reduction.
I can talk to some of them and then see if they used anybody to help with that and if they might recommend.
I have to tell
consulting
you,
or an ad firm.
the name Solid Waste District just it gives people, makes people
You think
think.
of poop.
I would say an outhouse, but okay.
Those are the calls we get.
Exactly. Yeah,
Even waste reduction sounds like something you want to have happen with your infant with the diapers, you know, it's like.
I know, and the.
Well, my mind didn't go there on waste reduction.
It didn't. So Mike McAfee is a good person to consult about consultants. Because the,
Visitor center.
yeah, Visit Bloomington did have a consultant.
Well, so for the 5-year plan, are we going to leave that as implementation on the agenda, or did we want to
Well, progress and implementation, I thought, so.
progress and implementation?
Yeah,
And then we want apartment recycling as the third?
I think so.
Yeah, that should be pretty short.
Unless somebody's got a parcel of land downtown. they wanna give it.
Yeah. Well, you do have that area right around the Johnson's Greenberry.
There's an apartment building. Oh, you mean where the tower's falling down?
Yes.
There's also a apartment building.
Are you gonna put us in harm's way? I see. Oh,
But that apartment building has not been gone through planning, city planning, has it?
I think it
Oh,
has.
it has already, okay.
and their
But the
entire,
historic designation is going to be determined on Wednesday night.
Yeah.
but maybe the next development downtown, instead of the bottom floor being commercial space, it needs to be recycling space.
I don't think that's very realistic. But always dream. You know, just put 20-foot ceilings so that the trucks can.
Exactly.
No problem.
It's 2 stories, but it's still the first floor.
It's a two-story first floor. That sounds good. Okay. Are we about ready to wrap up?
I am.
Please.
I think so.
Okay,
This may be the longest yet.
it definitely is, but we needed it, and it was a huge agenda. So this meeting is adjourned.
Look at real fast. Let me just
Hey, we have the same little notebook.
ask.
Oh, it's dark. Yeah.
I love my little notebook.
But you got a cat on yours.
Yeah, I got, well,
For
I
the
have cat
board
stickers, you
meeting,
know, at the ready.
so for the board meeting, and I just, and granted, Lee and Julie weren't there, and the mayor had already left, but Dan was the only non-executive committee member there. But he did specifically request
That,
a short agenda if we're doing the joint meeting afterwards. So do we have any concerns about the whole leachate agreement, the 2 resolutions?
we're gonna try and zip through this pretty fast.
Well, I think if we make
We have to do
recommendations,
the, I'm sorry.
if we say what we're recommending up front, having already gone through it once, I think that
Right.
would move things along too.
It does help.
Yeah, a lot of times that heads off a lot of debate and discussion when the executive committee says we reviewed it, we've discussed it, we've changed.
We
it, is
discussed
what
this
we're
at
recommending.
length.
But I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
I don't want,
Yeah, I remember him.
Yeah, I remember him saying that too, but
Well, I think that's
it's
an
hard.
appropriate way to treat the CIC too, that they're not sitting there waiting 2 hours for us.
Well,
for every
right.
Meeting,
yeah,
So-
and
Yeah.
yeah.
still need to have that joint meeting start in a reasonable time.
Right. Yeah, even more so since the joint meeting also has substantial amount of content to cover.
Well, yeah, and
Following
that
up.
one vote,
Right.
which,
Well, and an important vote, just
Yeah.
because CBU's hanging on out there, waiting until we say yes or no.
So
They can cool their jets.
board members really need to know that there's 2 agendas to look at.
I will, well, I mean, there'll be two packets attached in essence to the email.
Okay,
And I will, the body of the email will,
we'll let them know.
get it.
thank you, Kathy.
Thanks, Kathy. I'm sorry, Kathy, you were here all this time. Thanks.
Oh, we gotta close out of that too, don't we?
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna end it and that should bump everybody out.